All right, good morning, everyone. Of course, now I can hear myself. Good morning, everyone. This morning we have Sabrina Richardson from Mango Languages, and she is an account manager there. And this is actually our first time meeting Sabrina. I think she's new to Mango in the last year. Um, is that right?
Actually, I've been with Mango for about 4 years, but I'm new to Georgia. A colleague of mine recently made a transition, so I'm getting used to stepping in her shoes.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming this morning to do this presentation, and I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you all for taking time out of your mornings to learn a little bit more about Mango. So let's see, give me 1 second. I'm going to get my screen pulled up. Okay. Okay, and are you all seeing the first page Mango Language Learning centered around you?
Yes, they are.
Okay, great. So yeah, thank you all for taking time out of your morning to go over a little bit more about Mango Languages. As Joy mentioned, I am an account manager here at Mango, which really just means I'm here to help you all get the most out of it. So today we're going to take a look at all of Mango's key features and go over how easy it is to navigate a lesson. So we're going to take a look at everything. I'll give you all an overview, and then we'll get a chance to see it in action. So before we really get started and dive in, for those of you who might be unfamiliar with Mango and not really know quite what we are, we create a self-paced language learning software that's available on both mobile and desktop. We partner with public libraries, schools, and other institutions around the globe to provide free access to over 70 world languages. We've also got over 20 ESL courses, and then there are more than 30 specialty courses that provide additional language learning content. So here is a quick list of all of the languages that we currently offer. We've got our top 10 languages bolded there. Those are the ones that we have the most content currently built out for. But as you can see, there's quite a few things to choose from. And since it is self-paced, you have access to all of these. So you're not locked into just one language. You can bop around and do a world tour if you wanted to. So as I briefly mentioned before, we are going to get a chance to actually dive in and see all of these things in action. But here is a quick picture of what the interface look like. So we have an all-in-one course selection interface that allows you to access all of the content for any given language in one place. So you can easily check your progress, jump around in different lessons, access your review cards, and it keeps all of your relevant language courses front and center. We create a conversationally based language learning app where we introduce you to practical conversational phrases and then break them apart to teach it to you bit by bit. As you navigate through a lesson, we'll slowly put it all back together so you can learn how to communicate in the phrase, how to think in your new language, and how to piece it all together on your own. So here's a little bit of a closer look at the interface where you can see most of the key learning features. So you can quickly jump right back in where you left off by clicking on Resume Learning. You can access your review cards at any time or jump around with all the course content and navigate through any of the course lessons at your own pace. We've got your profile information front and center in the upper right-hand corner, as well as a quick link to our support in case you do run into any questions. In addition to the core language learning content, last year we actually released some new listening and reading activities for our top 9 courses. The listening and reading activities reinforce previously learned content through written passages and also audio segments that also introduce new vocabulary. So these are to help encourage the learner's understanding through giving them actual context to learn it in, while also introducing new features that can help them continue to build out their vocabulary. Last year, we also released a new review system. So the Mango review system uses intelligent algorithms to provide learners with a personalized review experience that adapts to their progress and learning behaviors. And this system will go in and automatically pull out key words or phrases to help the learner avoid the forgetting curve, to make sure that they are actually retaining the information. And it will slowly adapt to what each individual learner is is kind of struggling with or things that they are stronger at. It will help make sure that you're always being introduced with relevant review material. Within each course, we've also built in grammar and culture notes to help establish a deeper connection between the language and the culture. So once we get through the slides, we will, of course, get a chance to take a look at a couple examples. But these are just to give a little bit more content and context as the learner is going through the lessons. You will also find both memory building exercises as well as critical thinking exercises. These are built in at key points to help enable the learner to effectively retain the material and then test themselves to make sure that they remember it. And then the critical thinking exercises will help you learn how to actually start thinking in your new language. And we will introduce new vocabulary for you there so that you can start putting two together and creating your own sentences. All of our courses feature audio from native speakers, and there are included features like understood and literal meanings, as well as our semantic color mapping to help reveal the relationship between the learner's target language and their native language. Direct translations don't always convey the meaning of a learned word or phrase, so that's why we find it important to recognize the understood versus the literal meanings. And the semantic color mapping makes it nice and easy to see exactly which words in the target language line up with which words in the source language. Oops. Sorry, I jumped ahead a little. We also include phonetic pop-ups and a voice comparison feature to help empower learners to align their accent with quality native speaker audio. So the phonetic pop-ups help give you a little bit more of an explanation into how to pronounce the words. And then you can actually go in with the voice comparison feature and record yourself saying the word or phrase and compare it with the native speaker's audio to help you practice your pronunciation and communicate with confidence. So in just a few moments, we are going to log in and take a look at the desktop version of Mango, but we do have mobile apps available for both Apple and Android products. So the mobile apps are equipped with Bluetooth integration and autoplay features, which allow for hands-free learning capability. And you also have the option to download the lessons for offline learning during limited or no connectivity. So this is great for anyone who's on the go. I know we're all not doing too much traveling these days, but for anyone who is getting ready for a trip abroad, Mango makes it really easy to continue practicing your language learning even when you're on the plane. So you can download the apps for free in either the App Store or on Google Play. And it does sync up with the desktop. So it'll pick you up right where you left off across all our devices to provide for a nice, seamless, smooth learning experience. We've also recently released the option to add family profiles. So to encourage family learning, every personal Mango profile includes the ability to add up to 5 usernames. So this makes it nice and easy for parents to track and view progress separately for each family profile. It helps keep everyone together in the language learning journey, but also allows you to all be separate on your individual pace. As Joy mentioned, I am the account manager for all of our accounts in Georgia. So I'm always here to help support anyone with any questions that they have. But we do also have a customer service team where we've got real life humans that are on standby, ready to answer any questions that you have or talk you through everything. So as we're about to see when I log in here, Mango is very user-friendly. It's nice and easy to get in there and navigate a lesson at your own pace. But if you ever do run into questions, we provide tons of support for you to help make it as easy as a process as possible. So I am going to switch out of this real quick and then log into a lesson. But before I keep going, Joy, have there been any questions or anything like that so far?
No, there have not been any questions. And if you all do have questions, you can use the raise your hand feature or you can type them into chat, but none just yet.
Okay, great. Well, I'm hoping that as we log in here and get a chance to see all of the things that we briefly took a look at in action, it'll make it pop a little bit more. So for today's sake, I am going to log into an existing account just so we can really dive right into some content. But for new users who don't have a profile, it's very easy to sign up. You literally just need to set your email address and your password, and you're able to jump right on in and get started. So for new users who are logging in for the first time, the first thing you'll be prompted to do is to select a language that you would like to start learning. But for returning users, as soon as you log in, it's going to take you right where you left off. So you can see here that I was poking around in Spanish the last time I was logged in. You can easily switch between languages by clicking on the language name up here in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. So we'll keep your top 5 most recent languages front and center. But of course, as I mentioned before, you do of course have access to everything. So you can scroll down and see a list of our more popular languages, and then we have everything listed alphabetically. And of course, if you know exactly which one you want to start with, you can just type it right in. So let's see, for today, we are going to jump into chapter 2. Again, I want to dive in a little bit deeper so that we're able to see some content that has a little bit more to it. So at the start of all lessons, the first thing that you're going to see is a list of your conversational goals and your grammar goals. This is just to give you a heads up of everything you can look forward to learning as you're navigating through the chapter. And the second thing will actually be a conversation in the language between 2 native speakers.
Listen to the following conversation. Disculpe, ¿usted habla inglés?
Sí, hablo inglés.
¿Usted habla español?
Hablo un poco de español.
¿De dónde es usted?
Soy de los Estados Unidos. Me encanta Chile en primavera.
All right, so for those who are unfamiliar with the language, it might seem a little intimidating to have a whole conversation thrown at you. But as I mentioned before, we do use the break it down, build it back up method. So as we are going through this lesson, we will slowly break this conversation apart and teach it to you bit by bit. And then as you keep going, we'll slowly put it back together. So once you get to the end of this, if you were to listen to the conversation again, you should be able to follow along. So the next slide we'll see is an example of us breaking it down and teaching it to you bit by bit.
When speaking in a formal context, use disculpe, ¿usted habla inglés? To say, excuse me, do you speak English?
All right, so one of the first things that should jump out to you are all the different colors. Here is an example of our semantic color mapping. So the color mapping reveals the relationship between the learner's target language and their native language. And so if you want to hear the narrator say the sentence again, you can click on the little green microphone button in the center. And if you hover over it, you'll also get the phonetic pop-ups that we briefly talked about.
Disculpe, ¿usted habla inglés?
To help get a little bit more in depth with the pronunciation, these features are also available on an individual word level. So you can go by word and get both the phonetic pop-up as well as the pronunciation that is a little bit more slow, a little bit more articulated, so you can really get in depth with how to pronounce each word.
Disculpe, usted habla inglés.
So to further help with pronunciation, we do also have that voice comparison feature here. So this allows you to go in and you can listen to the narrator's recording.
Disculpe, ¿usted habla inglés?
And then you can also record yourself saying the phrase. Disculpe, ¿usted habla inglés? So as soon as you stop the recording, you see it pops up with this cool little sound graph. So you can see just by glancing at it how your sound waves align with the native speakers. You can then go in and listen to the narrator's recording again. You can listen to just your own, or you can play them both simultaneously.
Disculpe, ¿usted habla inglés?
So we call this the world's most patient tutor because you can go in and do this over and over and over again until you really are comfortable with your pronunciation. So let's see, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit so I can show you all an example of a grammar note.
Remember that personal pronouns are not necessary in Spanish. Try the following question without the pronoun, usted.
So while much of the grammar in our lessons is learned without the learner even realizing it, there are language-specific grammar insights that are provided throughout each lesson to provide clarity and to also help with more structured learning. So these will pop up at relevant periods to help give the learner a little bit more context into anything that might be irregular or just anything that they might need a little bit more support with. Similarly, the culture notes are also built in at relevant points.
The number of English-Spanish bilinguals in Mexico is increasing. Over the past couple of years, a great number of schools have incorporated many English courses. On the other hand, a lot of indigenous dialects spoken in the country have been losing speakers.
So these relevant culture notes are built into each lesson to help the learners understand the context of a new language. And all of these culture notes are specific to whatever the particular dialect or language that you're learning. So right now we are in the Latin American Spanish course. So that's why we've got the reference to the bilingualism in Mexico. But we also have a Castilian Spanish course. So the culture notes in that one, for example, would be completely different and would pertain to cultural things that are associated with people who are speaking Spanish in Spain. So once you get to the end of a lesson, it is self-paced. So you have the option to restart the lesson. Maybe you're not feeling very comfortable and you would like to go back and revisit a few things. You can also jump right into your review features. Or if you go back,
now try and say,
you can go back through,
or
through the lessons that way. To get back to the main interface, you just click on the X here and it will take you right back to your language learning platform. So you can see here right up at the top, we've got resume learning, so you can jump right back in. We've got my review cards here, so I've got 13 review cards up for today. We also include placement tests. So if there is anyone who may have some experience with the language and maybe hasn't done anything with it in a while and want to know where they should jump in, these placement tests are very helpful in recommending a place for a new learner to start.
And actually, Sabrina, I'll pop in right there. We actually have a question from Crystal regarding the placement test. She says she knows they're available on the desktop version, but is there one on the mobile version?
That's a great question. At this time, they are not available on the mobile version. That is something that's definitely been requested before, so it is on our team's radar. But yes, that's a fantastic question. The placement test is only available on the desktop version. However, all of this language learning content, so all of the chapters, the main units, and the specialty units, they are available on the mobile apps.
And there's one more question so far from Oscar. Is there any type of collaborative feature? I'm trying to imagine how we might be able to use this for Zoom room, virtual classes, ESL classes for patrons. Could the family feature be modified to a class?
That is a great question. So we do have a K-12 classroom version of Mango. So right now the Georgia Public Library has access to the public library product where we've got just all of the general language learning content. We do have a couple additional features that are available to be added on that allow you to kind of get in there and check a student's individual progress, if that's kind of more what you're looking at. But on like a more low-key side, on the mobile app, with the voice comparison feature, you do actually have the option to send that audio file. So if you were looking to kind of just hear how your students are doing with their pronunciation and practice that and things like that, that is something that is currently accessible via the Georgia Public Library subscription through the mobile app. But yeah, we will have a lot of people who, if you're looking to kind of like engage a group with Mango, some people have found success with having their students each practice a lesson individually so they can kind of, all get interaction with the conversation and then put them together in groups to actually practice speaking with each other and have the two sides of the conversation. Was that helpful, Oscar? Or was that not quite what you were looking for?
Oscar writes, great idea. Yes, it was helpful.
Awesome, awesome. And I will have my contact information posted. And Joy, I know that you always send out emails to kind of keep people in touch. So if anyone does have any questions, like more specifically about implementing Mango and kind of, using it with their students and kind of brainstorming fun, creative ideas like that, I'm always happy to, we can always set another time up and go more in depth to those kind of things. Any other questions come in so far?
There is another one, but it's a very specific question, so I will actually get back to that question later. There's one other question that just came in. Does each language have the feature of learning regularly used words without the framed sentences?
That's a great question. So not necessarily within these lessons here, but we do have a quick, in our tools tab up here at the top, we do have a quick translation feature that was built exactly for situations like that. So if you just have like a word or two that you want to see the translation for, you can just bop right over here into the tools tab, and then you can select, whatever language you want to translate it for and get specific vocab that way. And that is great because, with Mango being conversationally based, say, for example, we teach you how to order a glass of orange juice in a restaurant, but maybe you want to know how to say a glass of milk. So you can quickly go to the tools tab, translate how to say milk, and then you can implement that into the sentence that you just learned in the lesson.
All right, that's all the questions right now.
Okay, awesome. So let's see. Yeah, just a couple other things to go over with you all. So we've got the main chunk of the language learning content separated here in the main units. But for any of the courses that do have the specialty units where we've got the additional built out content, you can find those right down here in the specialty units. So some of these are more based to help with professional development and things like that. So we have, for example, a business course for Spanish, or a legal and a medical course. And then we've also got some fun ones. So you can see here, we've got one that will teach you how to text in Spanish. We also have a Spanish for librarians course, which is very, very helpful for people who are working in the libraries and want to make sure that they're able to communicate with their patrons. So we took a look at the tools tab. That was a great time for that question to come in. In this explore tab, so for some of our more developed courses, we also have Mango movies available. So if you are in a language and you're not seeing the explore tab up top, that just means that we don't currently have any films available for that language. But essentially we have a couple different little films where you can go in and just get an additional way to learn the language, an additional way to practice, and something that's a little bit more fun. Up here at the right, so as I mentioned, we've got quick access to our support team. So if you click that there, we do have a link to our FAQs page where we have a lot of step-by-step instructions with pictures. But of course, you can send a message, whether it be with a question, general feedback, whatever it may be, that does go directly to our customer support team. This handy little bell will let you know if there are any updates, any maintenance needed for your account. And then by clicking on your name in the right-hand corner, this is how you can access your profile. So you can, of course, change your password if you need to. You also have the ability to link your profile with different organizations. So if you have anyone who, say you're moving across country, and if you had already been using Mango at your home library, and the new library also has a Mango subscription, you're able to link your profile so that you don't lose any progress. This is where you go to add your family profiles. So it's as simple as just entering, sorry, I'm in a different window for this, so it's giving me trouble there. But the family profile, it's as easy as just picking a username and a password for that. And with the family profiles, you don't have to have an email address. So it is great for families who have younger children, who might not have their own email addresses set up, but still want to have their own login information. And lastly, of course, you have access to your activity report. So you can go in, it defaults to the last month, but you can, of course, select whatever date range that you like, and it'll give you an overview of what courses you were in, how long you've spent, and which specific lessons that you have done. So of all the features that we just saw, aside from the placement test, the movies are the only other thing that are not currently available on the mobile app. But other than those two things, every single thing that you see here and all of the features that we saw in the demonstration are available in the mobile app. So it's a nice seamless experience. The interface looks very, very similar. So it's a nice smooth transition. And then the only thing that is available in the mobile app that's not available on the desktop app would be the Bluetooth and the autoplay features. So the autoplay feature gives you the option to just navigate through the audio portion of the language lessons. So you don't have to actually scroll through every single slide. You can just turn on autoplay, kick back, relax, and enjoy your language learning. So this is great for people who might be on the go a lot, maybe like to have something in the background while you're going for a walk or doing dishes. The mobile app really makes it a nice, easy way to do your language learning hands-free while you're on the go. But that is basically Mango Languages in a nutshell. I know we got through all of that pretty quickly. Did anyone have any other questions, or is anyone interested in maybe poking around in any of our other language courses?
I'm looking at the chat. Don't see any additional questions right now. But if anyone wants to unmute themselves right now and ask a question, you can do so. See, we do have one question that just came in. Are there specialty features for librarians for all languages?
That's a great question. So right now it is only available in our Spanish course. However, the way that our team decides on what to build out next is by what's being requested. So if there are any particular languages that you would like to see that in, we do have a nice request form that I can go in and submit request for. And then they keep a tally of everything that's coming in, and that's how they kind of sort through that. So, and that goes for anything in general too. Like a lot of times, I mean, we do have over 70 languages, but there's way more than that in the world. So, just know that if there ever is anyone who's looking for a specific language, that's something that we always appreciate to hear that feedback for. So that's something that you could send into the support chat, or just reach out and send us a personal email, and we can definitely get a request for that.
And Oscar has a question that I've actually had, and I don't know why I've never asked it. He says, not content related, but I've always wondered why the company is called Mango.
That's a fun question. So there are a couple different stories that that you'll hear from our owners. One of my favorite is that when they were in the very early stages of developing the company, they were kind of joking about like, well, hey, Apple's really successful. That's a simple name. And so I guess someone tried to draw a pineapple on the board because they were thinking that might be fun. But everyone thought it was a mango. So they laughed about that and how poor the drawing skills were, and then said, you know what, mango's actually pretty good. Let's go with that. The more official response that I've heard is that mango is one of the few fruits that is called the same in a huge multitude of languages. So, it's kind of like on the vein of, you could speak a different language with someone, but the word for mango is the same. So it, kind of helps build that unity and bring that together. That's a fun question, though, especially now since we've changed our logo. I mean, before we used to have bright orange and green colors and have mangoes everywhere, which people got the correlation. But now we're getting more and more people asking with the new logo.
Yeah, that's actually another general interesting question is why the change in the logo. I mean, it changed last year. It became, really bright, like you're mentioning.
Yeah. So I think that we just felt as a company that it was time to grow up a little bit. It was kind of a decision that a lot of people were torn on. The mangoes were really fun, and it was really bright, and it was really poppy. But they wanted to take more of an approach where, more like the serious side of language learning, where we still have that fun aspect, but instead of just looking at the fun goofiness of it, we also want to look at it like, hey, language learning can be a little intimidating, but don't worry, we're here to help. We're bold. We want to experience the world and get out there and do it in an authentic manner. So I think that's why they switched it to the big, bold M, so that it really stands out a little bit more. And something I just realized too that I forgot to show you all. So I mentioned that we do also have over 20 ESL courses. So for those courses, first you'll select that you want to learn English, and then it will give the learner the opportunity to select their mother tongue. And all of the ESL courses are completely written and narrated in that language. So you can see here, I popped into the Chinese Mandarin course. The interface itself looks very similar, but you can see here that even if you're someone who's at the very, very early stages of learning English, maybe you're not too confident in your reading skills yet, Mango makes it nice and easy for learners of all statuses to actually navigate through the program and do their language learning that way.
Okay, I'm looking at the chat. I don't see any other questions right now. Crystal says, She never realized that about the fruit. That's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fun one.
During the session, have you pointed out all of the new things that were added over the past year? Or
Yeah, we did see them, but you know what? I didn't specifically highlight them, so I can jump back because since I don't speak Mandarin, I don't want to get lost. But so let's see. Yeah, last year, in addition to changing the logo, that was probably the biggest change that we made, and with restructuring the interface, of course. But the review feature, so that is a feature that was just added last year. And we can actually jump in and take a look at what that looks like too, since we've got a little bit of extra time. So you can, of course, get a heads up of all of the cards that you do have for review.
Okay, now try to say, he speaks a little bit of Italian.
So once you jump in, it looks, pretty similar to the teaching slides. You've got the semantic color mapping. It gives you time before you have to choose when you see the answer, so you can take as much time as you need to recall it.
Él habla un poco de italiano.
And once you hit show answer, you can see we've got the phonetic text that's right here. The voice comparison feature is available. You can listen to it again. And then down here, you have the option to say whether you got it right or whether you got it wrong. So this is how the system starts to learn each individual person. So it'll take note of the kind of things that you're always getting right on the first try versus the things that you have to revisit a couple times. And it will introduce you content that's more relevant. So this review feature, this is one of the new things that we added last year, and the review feature is available for all of our languages at this time. The other new feature would be these listening and reading activities. So the listening and reading activities are currently only available for our top 9 languages. But that's just because, we wanted to start with those so that we can, get feedback about what's working, what maybe needs to be improved upon a little bit. So we absolutely do have plans to incorporate these for all of our courses. But for now, the languages that they're currently available are French, German, Italian, Japanese, Mandarin Chinese, Russian, and then Brazilian Portuguese, Levantine Arabic, and Latin American Spanish. So those are new. And then also the family profiles, that's something that wasn't available until last year either. So yeah, no, good question, because I kind of just threw them in the mix and glossed over everything. But those are all things that, hopefully were new for people who haven't gotten into the program for over a year.
all right, I'm not seeing any additional questions right now. We'll give it a second, see if there's anything additional. If not, I'm actually sending over a response to Jennifer regarding our Mango subscription. Okay, I don't see any other questions or anyone has raised their hand. So I guess we can wrap up if there's nothing else you want to share or no additional questions.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. So I'll pull this one up here where I've got my contact information in case anyone does have any follow-up questions. But yeah, and I can hang out for a while too. So if there is anyone that wants to kind of poke around in another language, just do a little bit of exploring, or if any other questions do come up, of course. But yeah, well, I hope this was helpful. I hope that, y'all learned a little something new or just got a little bit more comfortable with the interface. And again, I appreciate you taking time out of your morning to do this overview.
Okay, everyone, thank you all for attending. And like I said earlier, this video will be available later, as well as transcripts and captions. And I just want to thank everyone for attending and thank Sabrina also for doing this webinar this morning. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.